When was the last time you did something for the first time? Take a moment. Think about it. When was the last time you felt that spark of genuine surprise? When was the last time you looked at something, a flower, a street sign, a stranger's face, and wondered, why is it like that? Or, do your days feel like copies of each other? You wake up at the same time. You drink the same coffee from the same mug. You drive the same road to work. You say the same phrases to your colleagues. I'm fine, thanks. How are you? You come home. You scroll through your phone. You sleep. And then, you repeat it all again. If this sounds familiar, please listen to me. You are not lazy. You are not boring. And you are definitely not broken. You are simply stuck. You have fallen into a deep sleep while you are still awake. But today, right now, in this quiet moment we share, we are going to wake up. Hi, my friend. Welcome back to Mira's English podcast. I am Mira, and I am so glad you are here with me today. This is your safe space. A space to slow down, a space to breathe, and a space to learn English, not through textbooks or grammar drills, but through the stories of our lives. Here, we don't just learn a language. We learn how to live a little bit better, a little bit softer, and a little bit deeper. Today, we are going to talk about a superpower you already have. You might have forgotten it. You might have buried it under years of responsibility and stress. But it is still there. It is the power of curiosity. And specifically, we are going to explore a simple practice that can change your life, learning one new thing daily. So, wherever you are, whether you are walking in the park, driving in your car, or lying in bed ready to sleep, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw. Let's begin. Let's go back in time for a moment. Think about a child. Maybe it was you when you were 5 years old, or maybe it's a child you know, a niece, a nephew, or your own son or daughter. What is the most common word in a child's vocabulary? It isn't money. It isn't deadline. It isn't stress. It is why. Why is the sky blue, Mommy? Why do dogs wag their tails? Why does the moon follow us when we drive? What is this? Can I touch it? Can I eat it? A child's world is vibrant. It is colorful. It is endless. Everything is a miracle because everything is new. A cardboard box is not just a box. It is a spaceship. A puddle of rainwater is not an obstacle. It is an ocean to jump into. A child learns hundreds of new things every single day, not because they are trying to be productive, but because they are hungry for the world. They are driven by an instinct to discover. But then, we grow up. We become adults. And something tragic happens quietly, without us noticing. We stop asking why, and we start saying, I know. I know. These are two of the most dangerous words in the English language. I know how the world works. I know who I am. I know what my job is. I know what tomorrow will look like. We trade wonder for efficiency. You see, the brain is an energy-saving machine. It wants to keep you safe, and it wants to save energy. So, it creates shortcuts. When you drive to work for the 1,000th time, your brain stops looking at the trees. It stops noticing the color of the houses. It goes on autopilot. You don't have to think, so you don't. You are physically awake. Your eyes are open, but your mind is sleepwalking. This is why time seems to speed up as we get older. Have you noticed that? When you were a child, a summer holiday felt like it lasted forever. A single afternoon was an eternity. But now, a year goes by in a blink. Christmas comes, and then suddenly it is summer, and then it is Christmas again. Why? Because your brain stops recording memories when nothing new happens. When every day is the same, the brain condenses a whole year into one single memory file labeled routine. My friend, if you feel like life is passing you by, it is because you have stopped feeding your brain the food it needs. You have stopped being a beginner. We are so afraid of looking stupid. We are so afraid of not knowing the answer. So we stay in our little boxes of comfort. We only do the things we are already good at. We only talk to people who agree with us. We only watch shows we have seen before. We call this maturity. But maybe, just maybe, it is actually a kind of spiritual death. But here is the good news. You can reverse this. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need to travel to the other side of the world. You don't need to sign up for an expensive university degree. You just need to flip a small switch in your mind. You need to decide, consciously, to become a student of life again. Now, you might think, Mira, this sounds like a nice poetic idea, but does it really change anything? So, let's talk a little bit about science. Don't worry, I will keep it simple. There is a beautiful concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. For a long time, scientists thought that after a certain age, maybe 25 or 30, the brain was fixed. They thought you couldn't change it, like concrete that has dried and hardened. But they were wrong. Your brain is not concrete. Your brain is like a garden. It is plastic. It is moldable. It can change, grow, and reorganize itself until the very last day of your life. Every time you learn something new, even something tiny, your brain builds a new connection, a new pathway. Imagine a forest. If you walk the same path every day, that path becomes wide and easy to walk on. That is your habit. That is your routine. But the rest of the forest becomes overgrown and dark. When you learn something new, you are stepping off the main path. You are cutting a new trail through the trees. And here is the magic ingredient: dopamine. You have heard of dopamine, right? We often think of it as the pleasure chemical. We get it from sugar, from likes on social media, from shopping. But biologically, dopamine is actually the reward for discovery. Our ancestors needed to be curious to survive. They needed to find new food sources, new water, new shelter. So, nature designed our brains to reward us when we find something new. When you learn a new English word, when you figure out how to fix a broken chair, when you taste a fruit you have never seen before, your brain releases a little spark of dopamine. It says, "Yes, this is good. We are growing. We are alive." But when you stop learning, when you stay in the safety zone, that dopamine dries up. And what replaces it? Boredom, stagnation, and often anxiety. Because humans are not designed to be stagnant water. We are designed to be flowing rivers. When a river stops moving, the water becomes murky. When a human stops learning, the spirit becomes heavy. So, I want to ask you, when you feel tired after work, is it always physical tiredness? Or is it the exhaustion of boredom? Is it the tiredness of a brain that hasn't been used for anything exciting all day? The antidote to exhaustion isn't always rest. Sometimes, the antidote to exhaustion is interest. It is waking up that part of you that wants to explore. And the best way to do that is not by trying to change your whole life overnight. That is too overwhelming. That is too scary. The best way is small, micro, tiny. The best way is the philosophy of one new thing. So, what does it mean to learn one new thing every day? When I say learning, I can almost hear you sigh. I know. The word learning often feels heavy. It reminds us of school desks, heavy textbooks, exams, and the fear of getting a bad grade. It feels like work, but that is academic learning. That is not what we are talking about today. I am talking about micro-discovery. I am talking about the tiny sparks of aha that happen when you pay attention. Learning one new thing doesn't mean memorizing a page of a dictionary. It could mean finding out the name of that purple flower that grows by your bus stop. Learning one shortcut on your computer that saves you 5 seconds. Trying a new spice in your dinner, maybe cumin or smoked paprika, and really tasting it. Or simply looking up the origin of a word you use every day. For example, do you know where the word breakfast comes from? It means to break the fast of the night. You haven't eaten for 8 hours. You are fasting, and now you are breaking it. Simple, right? But did you feel that? That tiny little click in your brain? That moment of, oh, I didn't think of that? That is the dopamine. That is the spark. You just learned one new thing, and it took less than 10 seconds. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Mira, I love this idea, but I am exhausted. I have a job, I have kids, I have bills to pay. I don't have time. I hear you. Modern life is a race. We are all running. But here is a gentle truth I want to offer you. Curiosity does not take time. It takes attention. How many minutes a day do we spend scrolling on our phones? We scroll through social media, looking at other people's lives, other people's dinners, other people's opinions. We numb our brains because we are tired. But numbing doesn't rest the brain. It just puts it in a coma. Real rest comes from engagement. What if you took just 5 minutes of that scrolling time to look up something that actually interests you? Not what the algorithm shows you, but what you wonder about. Imagine if you did this for 1 year. 365 tiny discoveries. You wouldn't just be smarter. You would be a more interesting person. You would have stories to tell at dinner. You would have metaphors to explain your feelings. You would see connections where other people only see separate dots. You would be building a library in your mind, one brick at a time. Now, let's take this superpower and look at how it changes your relationships. Because curiosity isn't just about facts, it's about people. Think about the conversations you have with your partner, your parents, or your best friend. How often do we run on a script? Hi, how was your day? It was fine. Good. Tired. How was yours? Yeah. Okay. Work was busy. We ask, but we don't really ask. We listen, but we don't really hear. We assume we already know everything about the people we love. We think, I know my husband. I know my wife. I've lived with them for 10 years. But remember, I know is the enemy of curiosity. People change. Every single day. The person you woke up next to this morning is slightly different from the person who went to sleep last night. What if, instead of assuming, you got curious? What if you asked a new thing question? Instead of, how was your day? How was your day? Try asking, what was the best thing that happened to you today? Or, what was the hardest part of your day? Or even, what is something you read or saw today that surprised you? When you ask a question with genuine curiosity, you are giving someone a gift. You are telling them, I see you. You are a mystery to me, and I want to explore that mystery. That brings the spark back into relationships. It turns a boring dinner into a real connection. And now, I want to talk specifically to you. You, who are listening to this podcast to improve your English. You, who are brave enough to learn a second or third language. Curiosity is the secret weapon for fluency. And here is why. Most adults learn English with fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of bad grammar. Fear of not finding the right word. Fear of sounding foolish. When you operate from fear, your brain shuts down. It becomes rigid. It tries to protect you. You say less because you don't want to be wrong. But what happens if we replace fear with curiosity? Instead of thinking, I hope I don't make a mistake, try thinking, I wonder how a native speaker would say this. Instead of getting frustrated when you don't understand a word, try getting curious. That's a strange sound. I wonder what it means. Let me become a detective. Look at children again. When a child learns to speak, they babble. They make funny noises. They use the wrong words. Do they feel ashamed? No. They laugh. They experiment. They are playing with the language like it is a toy. To learn English well, you must become a child again. You must be willing to play. Next time you watch a movie in English, Don't just try to understand the plot. Pick one phrase, just one. Maybe the actor says, "It's raining cats and dogs." Don't just translate it. Get curious. Why cats and dogs? Why not frogs and fish? Look it up. Spoiler: it might come from old houses where pets used to sleep in the thatched roofs and would slip off when it rained slippery. Whether that story is true or not doesn't matter. What matters is that by being curious, you made the language sticky. You made it memorable. Stop trying to be perfect. Start trying to be fascinated. When you are fascinated, English stops being a subject you study. It becomes a world you explore. And in that world, there is no failure. There is only discovery. So far, we have talked about the sleepy adult mind. We have talked about the science of the brain. We have talked about how curiosity heals our relationships and helps us learn English. But how do we actually do this? How do we start? Especially if we feel lazy or unmotivated right now? I don't want this to be just another podcast you listen to and forget. I want you to take something with you. So, in the next and final part of our time together, I am going to give you a very simple challenge. A challenge that takes less than 5 minutes, but will open your eyes to a brand new world. Take a deep breath. Let the information settle. We are almost there. So, how do we turn this beautiful philosophy into a real habit? I promise you, it is simple. You don't need a PhD. You don't need a library card. You just need 3 small steps. Step number 1. Catch the I don't know moment. This is the hardest step, but the most important one. Throughout your day, there will be moments when you don't know something. Maybe you hear a bird singing outside your window, and you don't know what bird it is. Maybe you see a street name, Lincoln Street, and you don't know which Lincoln it was named after. Usually, we ignore these moments. We let them float away like clouds. Your job now is to catch them. Stop, pause, and admit it. I don't know what that is, and I want to know. That moment of admitting ignorance is the spark of wisdom. Step number 2. The 2-minute dive. We all carry the entire knowledge of human history in our pockets, our smartphones. Usually, we use them to distract ourselves. But today, use it as a tool. When you catch that I don't know moment, take out your phone. Don't open Instagram. Don't open TikTok. Open your browser and type it in. What bird sings in the morning in your city? History of Lincoln Street. Read the first paragraph. Just the first one. That's it. You don't need to read the whole book. In 2 minutes, you have moved from not knowing to knowing. You have fed your brain. Step number 3. The teacher method. This is the secret for my English learners. Once you learn that new fact, do not keep it inside. Tell someone. Turn to your partner and say, "Hey, did you know that hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backward?" If you are alone, tell your cat. Or better yet, whisper it to yourself in English. I learned today that hummingbirds fly backward. When you teach it, you own it. The memory moves from short-term to long-term storage. Now, I have a challenge for you. I call it the Journal of Discovery. I want you to get a small notebook. It doesn't have to be fancy. A cheap pocket notebook is perfect. Or use a note app on your phone. For the next 30 days, I want you to write down one line every evening. Just one line. The date and the one new thing you learned that day. Day 1. I learned that OK stands for all correct. A joke from the 1,830 seconds. Day 2. I learned how to say delicious in French. Day 3. I learned that trees talk to each other through their roots underground. Imagine looking at that notebook after 30 days. You will see a list of 30 treasures. You will realize that your month was not boring. It was full of little miracles. And if you write this journal in English, oh, my friend, your vocabulary will explode. Not because you memorized a list of random words, but because you collected words that mattered to you. This is how you build a rich life. Not by winning the lottery, but by collecting small coins of knowledge every single day. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with one final thought. We often talk about finding ourselves. We go on trips, we change jobs, we look in the mirror, searching for who we are. But maybe we don't find ourselves. Maybe we create ourselves. We create ourselves out of the books we read, the people we meet, the questions we ask, and the things we learn. You are a mosaic, a beautiful patchwork quilt. Every new thing you learn is a new patch of color on that quilt. If you feel lonely right now, be curious. The world is full of friends you haven't met yet. If you feel anxious, be curious. Anxiety cannot survive when curiosity is present, because anxiety worries about the future, but curiosity anchors you in the now. If you feel old, be curious. Curiosity is the fountain of youth. As long as you are learning, you are growing. And things that are growing do not die. They evolve. So, here is my promise to you. The world is not boring. It is only our eyes that get tired. Wash your eyes today with wonder. Look at your life as if you have just arrived from another planet. Ask why. Ask how. And listen for the answer. If this episode touched something in you today, I would love to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, what is one new thing you learned today? It can be from this podcast or from your own life. Let's turn the comments section into a library of fascinating facts. I read every single one, and I can't wait to learn from you. Don't forget to subscribe to Mira's English podcast if you want to join us on this journey of slow, deep learning. My name is Mira. Thank you for lending me your ears and your heart today. Until next time, stay curious, my friends. And remember, you are doing better than you think.